Hey, live. Don't have a ton of time today. So this is gonna be a short stream, less than an hour. But you have a little bit of time to work on Urza, so we're just gonna hop right into it. Start scrolling through, looking at everything we have left. Might be able to get rid of the scroll rack. I think top is better overall in this deck, as it normally is, but you can get a large enough hand and shuffle your deck often enough. Borak has a lot of potential. I think we're moving away from the larger hand, like the larger card draw effects, and focusing more on getting the specific card and then using all of our mana to make that what we're doing the entire time. So So we more need to be able to find the specific card that's going to be the thing that we target. Where'd my search thing go? Oh no, wait, I have search thing. Where did my clipboard go? Why did you wander off on me? There we go. We're probably gonna cut the Panharmonicon. I think I was thinking that yesterday too, and it just seems more and more correct as we keep going. Dash, Meshi, Rexia I really like in this deck. I mean, I do like it. On the other hand, like it's an okay thing to be copying, since every time we make a copy of it, all of our opponents will lose three more creatures until they don't have any anymore, and each copy is giving us a dead creature back each of our upkeep. So if we have three of them in play, we get three dead creatures back. So it does scale nicely, but it might be one of the weaker things we're actually doing between its 9 mana cost and the fact that it's only killing their creatures. Tribute Mage. There's a. I have to triple check, but I'm pretty sure Tribute Mage is still getting enough different cards from our deck. Make sure we still have the 2 drops necessary for it. Right, it gets Liquid Metal Torque, and I think it gets Liquid Metal Coating too, in addition to being able to get several of our mana rocks, including one of the ones that goes infinite with Power Artifact. Yeah, I think Tribute Mage is still pretty locked into this deck. Alright. So. Yeah, I think we still want to keep Transmute. Coat of Arms is fine. Copter is okay with what we're doing. It can go infinite. Ooh, excuse me. Maybe it's Palinchron. So Palinchron's not, when we turn him into an artifact, we can still keep copying him though until end of turn. So the copies won't be artifacts, but the copies will still untap 7 lands. And So if we just have access to 7 lands, Urza's going to, like, we cast Palancron, we untap all of the lands. Urza pays 6, taps the 7th land for mana. So yeah, Palancron coming down can instantly create an infinite army. Ooh, excuse me, as long as he's an artifact from one of our effects. So yeah, I suppose he gets to stay then. We might be able to just cut the future sight and um the artifact one, the one that's restricted in vintage because of shops and whatnot. Mystic Forge. I think it's Mystic Forge. I do love me some future sight variants, but don't think this deck needs them. I do like the idea of having the Forge with the top, though. Similar to Bolus's Citadel, but not nearly as good. Being able to top swap and recast the top. Being able to top swap with future sight effects in general, because the top is so cheap to cast, is usually a good thing. We can probably cut the Shimmer Mirror and just run Liberator. If we even need that effect, do we need to be able to cast our artifacts at instant speed in this deck? Like, it's never bad to be able to do that, but are we really getting any additional benefit out of playing the cards at instant speed? Like, a lot of our things are just going to combo off if we play them in a single turn. It's not like we need to play them and then untap with mana a lot of the time. We just need like the 1 or 2 mana in some cases to kickstart it all, and we'll be good. The only time it really helps is when Urza's still at like 6 mana to activate. Like, we might not have the mana afterwards. But both of these things are only letting us cast our artifacts, and some of the things we might need to cast are like our regular creatures. Go tutor up a combo piece or something with one of the various mages, treasure, trinket, and tribute. Or like actually cast the Palancron to untap all the lands to get that started, so yeah, I don't know that we actually need to be able to play our artifacts at instant speed. Unwinding Clock helps when we're not able to activate Urza basically infinitely in a single turn, like just being able to untap all of our mana rocks and activate him on other turns is okay until we get to the point where we can get his cost reduced enough. We could still wind up cutting it, but I think we need to keep that Codex Shredder for a while. Dismissal, Inventors Fair, Padim. Yeah, we can probably cut the Panharmonicon. Keep Torrential Gearhulk for now. I'm considering it, but we'll keep him for now. Power Stone Shard is too good when we copy it. Azatep Plating still kind of iffy. I want to keep Emery. I want to keep Dance of the Manse, even if I don't necessarily. Oh, ow! Bit my tongue. Ugh. Even though I don't necessarily want our creatures or our artifacts to become creatures, like the base ones, I barely want them to be creatures sometimes with Urza to begin with. Like, some of them would just be better if they were just the artifact. Others of them work well only because they become artifact creatures, but yeah, we can probably go ahead and cut Liberator. Maybe we can cut the portal to Phyrexia. Yeah, it's a 9 drop, and it's not as potent as Darksteel Forges for our deck. Like, it's a neat trick, but it's probably one. If we have that much mana and we haven't found one of our other things, it's not the best thing to keep doing. Yeah, we can probably cut the Forge too. Mostly just want to focus on the combo pieces and the things that get them for us. And while being able to play the top card of our deck ahead of time does sometimes let us dig a few cards deeper into our deck, it's not as good as just consistently drawing an extra card every turn would be. I feel like. As long as we can actually do it like every turn. A lot of the benefit that we're getting out of a card like Future Sight. Future Sight's really good if you can just keep casting the cards off the top of your deck. So it works really well with decks with cheaper spells, decks that have infinite mana, and extra land drop. Extra land drops is probably the most important thing for a card like Future Sight. You can play the lands off of the top, then you can usually generate a large amount of card advantage while increasing your mana production. Like, Oracle Moldai is probably one of the strongest Future Sight variants, and all it does is let you play the land just because it lets you play the extra one every turn. Yeah, that's the one thing that always bricks Future Sight effects is that second or third land on top. And being able to shuffle your deck helps. Being able to manipulate the top card of your deck helps a lot. Like things like Sensei's Dividing Top and whatnot, but very few things actually beat being able to play extra lands with that type of effect. And since we're not doing that, we're doing the other stuff pretty well, though. We have a lot of shuffle effects and a couple of ways to manipulate what's on top of our deck, but end of the day, feels like they're not as important as the other things that we have, and I just want to focus on the actual way we're going to win the game. And right now, that seems to be activating Urza a whole lot in a single turn. We can get to the part where we can activate him like multiple times in a single turn. I think we just win the game. That's what I'm gonna go for. Everything else is either meant to facilitate that or interact with what our opponent's doing in the meantime. Let's see. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brings us down to 119. You're all. Alright. So with that mentality in mind, what is helping us do the thing more, and what is stopping our opponents from interacting with us? Yeah, I can probably cut the scroll rack. We have enough tutors to go get the various pieces, and some of the tutors that we have that if they don't go get the specific piece we need, they can go get other things towards that for the most part. Like either they're going to get a combo piece or they can get us a thing that can get a combo piece is where we're at with this thing. Like the spell seeker being able to tutor for any of our other like um yeah, like enlightened tutor or mystical tutor or any of that to go get like the other combo pieces, even though it can't go grab like one of the cheaper artifacts or even one can't go get an artifact at all. Basically, like Spellseeker is limited to cheap instants and sorceries. I think maybe just cheap instants. Anyway, it can go get the things that can get the other stuff, so it doesn't. I have so many artifacts in the deck, and I'm still considering Metalworker. Metalworker is just one of those cards, like, when it does its thing, it does it so spectacularly that it's really impressive. If you ever tap a Metalworker on, like, turn 4 and get 10 mana out of it, like, that's amazing. That's an absurd level of power. If you tap the Metalworker for 2 mana, though, it's a, what's that one mirror? Palladium Mirror? And you may notice Palladium Mirror does not show up in a lot of people's commander decks. Despite the fact that it is a Worn Power Stone with legs. And Worn Power Stone is pretty playable. In fact, I think it's kind of sad. I would rather have the Worn Power Stone a lot of the time so that way it can't die to random removal or wrath effects. But yeah, when Metalworker only taps for like 2 mana or no mana, and then it's just a 3 mana 1/2. It's like a Gray Ogre with weakness on it, or an Animate Deaded Gray Ogre. Yeah, something like that. When your Gray Ogre is even more pathetic than normal, it's kind of depressing. This is the type of deck, though, that has the artifact density necessary to make him that good. Also, we have Workshop on the list, so being able to cast him turn 1 and then untap with 6 cards in our hand, theoretically, or no, 7, 8, 7, 6. Yeah, so we would get our draw step, so we'd have 7 cards in our hand. If at least 3 of them were artifacts, if we had access to like 10 mana, that would be only for casting artifacts or colorless spells at that point. Like, because the workshop still doesn't work with any of our non-artifact spells, even if they're colorless, so still, that's an awful lot of mana potentially in the early part of the game. And we do still have Time Spiral on the list. Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking we have Time Spiral on the list. We also have Smothering Tithe and whatnot, and I'm wondering if I want to take. I think we still have Narset on the list, and she's primarily on the list because she can get our non-creature artifacts with her down tick and stops the opponent from drawing extra cards. But if we are stopping them from drawing extra cards, then the Smothering Tithe isn't doing anything. It's like one or the other should probably go. And I have a lot of other things that are taxing opponents' resources too on the list right now. So unless I want to get rid of all of them that aren't like unless I want to get rid of all of the non-artifact ones that aren't making all of their spells more expensive. Like the whole point of the deck is starting to become copying Sphere of Resistance effects. so that the opponent can't do anything in the meantime. Like, none of the other players can participate in this game once we're doing the cool thing. So, at that point, maybe we would want to get rid of the other ones. But if we have the other ones already in place, they might be tapped too low to properly interact. They might be like, well, it's okay. I'll just untap and disenchant if I need to one of the following turns. I'll pay for right now, and then they find out that now their disenchant costs like 8 mana instead of like 2 or 3 like they thought it would. Because if they're not paying, then we're getting extra cards and extra mana, and that also works for us. Hmm. Oh, got like 25 minutes left, so let's keep going and considering cards. Till it's time for me to leave. Construct is one of the ways we can go infinite. Reckoning, Arkham Dagson. What else isn't advancing our plan? We're shutting down the opponent's plan. Up. Training grounds, electrical coding. Rift. Racers. Um, I was looking at one of the thing. Oh, the mere battle sphere was making me question. First, questioning whether or not I actually want the mere battle sphere, which I probably still do because making 5 permanents that can be sacrificed to either the Ironworks or the altar in order to get 10 colorless mana makes it really easy to go infinite with Urza, so we probably want that one. But I was wondering how many artifact creatures I still have for Arkham, because I do need to have enough artifact creatures that will get into play in time for him to sacrifice them to tutor. Like, we took the Kuldotha Forge Master out because it needed to eat so many things, but I need to make sure I still have enough for Arkham to be able to eat in order to tutor up one of our things. Like, he only needs to tutor like 1 or 2 cards in order for us to win the game, so it's more a question of will I have enough artifact creatures in the deck. And I'm not 100% sure that I will. Eshi. Uh, the thing is that Urza, like, it might require me to spend 6 mana, but I will then have an artifact creature. So if I spend the 6 mana and then tap Arkham, I can in fact tutor something up. That's like the worst case scenario, is that it does cost me the full 6 mana after having to cast both Arkham and Urza and just kind of leave them there to be vulnerable on the board for a turn or two to set that up. Which is one of the primary reasons why I want all of these like free functional counterspells. Maybe the idol's not good enough either. Maybe I just need to. I'm cutting all of this card draw, but I'm leaving in all of the tutors. So we can use the tutors in theory to just go get the parts we most need. Did I cut Benny yet? I feel like I want to cut Benny before I want to cut Idol of Oblivion. I think that I did. Yeah, he'd be somewhere around here, and I'm not seeing him. Well, he'd be with the Grand Crescendo if nothing else. Um, Knight Paladin can instantly win us the game. Um, yeah, we're getting to that point now where I have to start cutting things that really work well in the deck. So, actually, what are my ones and zeros right now for Trinket Mage? I have Mana Vault, Soul Ring. Um, Mana Vault, Soul Ring. No. Those. So far I have two. Top is three. This. I can't get him. Expedition map is four. And lets us get like one of the pieces of the Urzatron to help ramp us. That's a step in the right direction. Codex Shredder's 5. Um, Walking Ballista 6. Yeah, okay. I think we have enough then to merit Trinket Mage. Because we're going to have 7 when we get to, what's its name? Mana Crypt. Yeah, that seems to be all of them, but being able to get some of the better fast mana. Oh, right, we can tutor Sentinel too. So that's 8. Yeah, being able to get to like a lot of good fast mana early on in the game when it's still super relevant, and also being able to tutor up functionally a land with the expedition map so we can tutor for one of the Urzatron if we need it, or Mishra's Workshop, or any of those. So yeah, that's enough utility for me to merit the thing being in there. We have a lot of good 2 drops for the one to get, and a lot of variation on them, from like mana ramping rocks to cost reduction artifact creatures to the card draw from the idol. Um, whatever we actually need, and it can fetch one of the mana rocks that we can use to go infinite with either the power artifact or the voltaic construct. So yeah, I think all of the mages, and then the high drop mage can go get like Mirror Battlesphere. Um, it gets Mirror Battlesphere. What else does it get? It gets the Angel that exiles stuff. Yeah, let's make sure that one's pulling its weight too. I saw a few of them. It can't get the Knight Paladin, unfortunately. I can get the Kappa, so which then can be cast for less than 6. And is potentially able to one-shot players. What else can we get? We get the Soul of New Phyrexia. I'm not 100% sure that the Soul of New Phyrexia might actually go, if I'm being honest. What else can it get? Because if it can't actually get enough stuff, we might need to cut it. Scrap Trawler, Torrential Gear Hulks at 6. Codex Shredder, Unwinding Clock. And get the Spine. Yeah, Spine's a really good one to be able to tutor with that, so it is helping it out a lot. Technically get Memnarch. Memnarch is a 7-drop. Maybe I just don't like. I wanted another thing that can turn stuff into artifacts, but I'm really focused on how he's like 3 mana to do that, and then potentially 4 mana again. But 7 mana just to cast him means that I'm probably not going to get to activate him before he dies. A duplicate we can go get. Workhorse we can go get. Alright, so there's still plenty of things that we can tutor for, even if we make. I forget which cut I was looking at. It was before. Scrolling up, it was before Torrential Gear Hulk. It was like one of the other 6 drops where I'm like, I'm not even 100% sure if I'm going to play this. But I'm blanking on what it was now. What was the other super expensive card where I'm just like, yeah, that's technically on the list, but maybe I shouldn't count it because I'm thinking about. Oh, the Soul of New Phyrexia. Uh, I can see that being one of the cards that I wind up cutting. It's it's at its best when we've already reduced the activation cost on our creatures by a significant amount, because once I only have to spend like 1 or 2 mana to make all of our things indestructible, it's pretty easy to counter multiple destruction effects that aren't exiling or negative X things. Like, if the opponent goes for, like, I'm going to kill this thing, and I'm like, okay, all my stuff is indestructible, and they're like, okay, but what if I do this? And it's like, nope, they're still indestructible, type of deal. And then nobody's going to be able to reasonably respond to that until I'm getting super low on mana. But I need to be able to get to that point. So Soul of New Phyrexia is probably winning me games that I was already most of the way towards winning. And then it's just a matter of how many of those games was I almost going to win, and then my stuff all exploded, and then I didn't win. I did gloss over Meteor Golem, who is also a 7-drop we can tutor. Yeah, I think maybe we get rid of the Soul of New Phyrexia too. Alright, Recruiter can go get Spellseeker, all of the mages, um, can get things like Esper Sentinel, um, not the Golem though, the Lodestone. Can't get any of the other cost increasing effects because they're all non creatures. Uh, Recruiter's 2 toughness because Imperial Recruiter was 2 power. What else do we have? I mean, you can go get enough things that I'm going to run it anyway. But yeah, there's a bunch of like high toughness cards in here that we can't go get, even though that's true. It can tutor for Metal Worker. Can't get Musia. I think it can get Arkham though. I think Arkham's a 1/2. I can tutor up our Lion Sash. I'm wondering with Tameshi, we have Tameshi, do we need Emery also? We might not need both of them. Tameshi's a little bit troublesome in that you have to bounce a land, so if I have to activate him too many times, I'll have like a handful of lands, and even if I have enough artifact mana sources to keep going, that might be an issue. But if we have to bring that much back, or we have to bring back something every single turn, that's the other thing too. Emery taps to use her ability. Tameshi doesn't, so in theory, if I have two cheap artifacts I need to bring back in the same turn, Tameshi can handle that. I like the things that Spark Double enables in the deck, but maybe that one's gonna have to go. Alright, it's getting really close to time. I don't think I'm going to get rid of anything else. So we cut out like those three. Huh. My stream chat is acting funny, like I didn't even get the notification that I went live. Stream chat, what are you doing? Here, real quick, let me just hop over here. Fortunately, I now have it set up so I can see my stream. I am muted. Okay. Alright, so I don't see any chat messages over here either. Alright, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anybody in chat, because it didn't even pop up, like, the stream elements didn't even pop up to let me know that I had gone live. Something might be wrong with that. I might have to re-enable them. But I'll take a look at that later, because I don't want that to go wrong tonight. Yeah, tonight is the big 5th anniversary for Opera Omnia, so I am going to try and stream that, but I want to make sure that my chat is not going to be an issue, so I'll go and take a look at that. But yeah, I gotta get going because I gotta get ready for work, so I hope you enjoyed this, and we're getting there with Urza. We're almost there, so we can cut these 3 cards down and get them down to 116. And I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.